What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast featuring Phil Perry. It is the aftermath. It's the aftermath of a Patriots win in Miami. And I said I needed to see proof of concept before I was picking the Patriots to win any football games at all. I needed proof of concept before I could say that Drake Maye was a guy who was elevating from among the lower quarter of quarterbacks in the league to maybe the upper half. Today was a day where we saw some of it. And Phil, we're going to go deep on Drake Maye because we went deep on him during the week. But I think what was interesting about this team was the resilience that it showed. Here's Mike Vrabel talking about some of that resilience.
I'm just excited for these guys. I'm really excited that they could, fight and compete, come on the road, be in a game, get off to a good start, not be front runners, everything that we talked about. We tried to get the drive stopped sometimes. We ended this drives with scores, with touchdowns. We were much better in the red zone. On offensively, the only thing that stopped us today was us. So there was a lot of really good keys there.
This is what a bad team needs, is to be able to go ahead 12-0, find itself 15-14 at halftime with mistakes, getting shredded on defense, missing PATs, actually falling behind, and then weathering the storm. It's not a good team, but I really fully believe that they didn't take advantage of bad football and not play any of their own because they played enough bad football to fill a nice bucket. But they showed resilience, and that to me is the biggest takeaway, non-player related, from today.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I liked what Vrabel said after the game, where he said, "Listen, I appreciate the character, appreciate the resiliency, all that's good. It'd be nice if we didn't have to test it in that fashion because of our own wrongdoings out there on the field." And so they put themselves in those spots, but that's going to happen again. They're not a good team yet. They're going to find themselves in instances where they have screwed up and put themselves behind the eight ball. How do you react in those situations? And so I think the in the moment resiliency is one thing, and that is a positive to me from this game. But I even think the week-to-week resiliency, coming back from a loss, this is a team for multiple years now, Tom. We have not seen them bounce back from pretty much anything. And so for them to lose a game that was winnable in week one, at home, a disappointing effort, come back on the road in what's been a difficult place for them to play for years now, I think that might be even more of a positive sign moving forward for this team.
Patriots hadn't scored more than 30 points since the 2022 season. They scored 38 against the Cleveland Browns in mid-October, so that was a Bailey Zappi game. The next week, they got their asses summarily handed to them by the Chicago Bears in a 33-14 Bailey Zappi-Mac Jones split loss. But we both agree, Phil, that the quarterback position and the way Drake Maye played might have been a watershed moment for him. We don't know until it's all over with. We'll look back on it and see whether it was a blip or the real thing as he started to emerge. But here's Stephon Diggs from the locker room talking about Maye's performance.
Growing up, it's early. Game 2, obviously we try to go 1-0 each and every week. I feel like he made a jump from last week, just settling in. It's hard being a young quarterback, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like he's doing the best job he can, and obviously 4 incompletions. You ask him if you're happy about him.
Phil, the floor is yours on Drake Maye.
I just think there was real growth that he exhibited today. Now, whether that takes hold and it's something we see consistently from week to week, let's wait and see. But you have to be so encouraged if you're Josh McDaniels, if you're Mike Vrabel, not just because he looked like a quarterback that you win because of, not just a quarterback you can win with. That's the distinction that we've been using for years now. That was the topic of conversation, felt like, on a weekly basis with Mac Jones. Well, you can win with him in the right situation. No, today you won because of Drake Maye, and I think he did it because he played the quarterback position. That sounds obvious. We understand that's what he does. That's his job. But when I say he played the position, I look at plays like the ones in the second drive of the second half, early in the third quarter, where it's second and forever after a hold. Hit the check down. Don't try to push something down the field and get it all in one chunk. Hit the check down, make it third and manageable. That's playing the quarterback position. And then on third and manageable, your right tackle gets beat the way Morgan Moses did. Protect the football, keep 2 hands on it, step up in the pocket, and deliver a strike down the field, which he did to Ramondre Stevenson for a 55-yard gain. To me, one of the biggest plays, if not the biggest play in the game, because they took the lead on that drive, and they traded special team scores after that. But they end up winning the game, in my opinion, Tom, because he was playing the position. It was not just hero ball. It was not just playground football. He was playing the quarterback position today in a way we hadn't seen him do it on a consistent basis since he's been here.
Phil Perry, that's the best play of his NFL career.
Ooh.
That juncture right there where you go to the check down. Again, they had gone 3 and out and lost, I believe, 8 yards on the first drive of the second half. And they had fallen behind at that juncture 17-15. They're about to lose another game. They're about to go to 1-12 with Drake Maye under center from start to finish in a game. Yet he comes out and after an initial loss on that drive, does exactly what you said. Then, because he's got an offensive coordinator who is now able to scheme things up in a particular way, he gets Ramondre Stevenson kind of naked and alone down the sideline. Really good play call. Then they use Gibson up the middle to set up the Drake Maye touchdown scramble. Phil, talk about the things that we're seeing defenses have to deal with because of Drake Maye.
Yeah, I thought maybe the most interesting thing we heard from Drake Maye in his post-game press conference today was the fact that the Dolphins played a lot of zone against the Patriots today. We heard the same thing last week after they lost to the Raiders. They played a lot of zone. Well, that's sort of funny. You probably, if you're a Patriots fan and you've been following these things, and you like to listen to these post-game press conferences, you haven't heard that very much for years. And it's because teams have not played a lot of zone against the Patriots. They play a lot of man against the Patriots in obvious passing situations because they know their guys are better than your guys. And so they feel totally fine playing man-to-man, one-on-one, across the board, throwing an extra body in the box to play against the run or to spy the quarterback. But now that Drake Maye's here and teams understand that maybe their best weapon still is Drake Maye's legs, they have to play zone, or they feel they have to play zone because they want eyes in the backfield. They want to be able to keep Drake Maye under wraps and his scrambling ability under wraps. Well, that's helpful to the Patriots and the weapons they have, Tom, because now they don't have to beat somebody across the line of scrimmage one-on-one. Good for them because they don't have a lot of one-on-one, just my talent's better than your talent types of players. But it's also good because they have an experienced offensive coordinator who knows how to scheme things up against different zone coverages, and he can flood different zones, and you can make sure that guys like Ramondre Stevenson or Austin Hooper leaking back across the field on a rollout type of play, that guys are getting open against that type of coverage. So teams, because of, in my opinion, because of Drake Maye's athleticism and the threat to scramble, they have to play a certain style of defense, which is really benefiting the people Drake Maye has around him because the talent is what it is on that side of the ball.
Yeah, and Drake Maye, can you identify the hero play he made? The off-platform scrambling play that, geez, there's only a couple guys who can make that. I can't. And I don't want to. You don't want that from your quarterback. You don't need him to put on a cape and be a superhero. It's win because of, not win with. But to me, sometimes winning because of is making that throw to Kayshon Boutte that he made on the only reception for Boutte in the game. Put in a spot that Kayshon Boutte could go get it and make an acrobatic play because he's your most acrobatic and athletic receiver, really, in terms of body control. Put it on Mac Hollins in the end zone. Don't, pee down your leg. Put it on Travion Henderson's hands. Even though you didn't use a lot of arc on that play, probably because there was a safety coming over, really well-placed throw. When it left his hand, I said, he overthrew him. Travion Henderson tracked it down. They had a gain. Same thing with the Ramondre Stevenson throw. Those were really good throws. The fourth down throw to Diggs, Phil.
Yeah, that's another great one, too. I love that call, by the way, from Vrabel. We're on the road. We're trying to make sure that we get one on the board in terms of my first win as a head coach and our first win as a team here in 2025. I love coming out fourth and short and making sure that you stay on the field and keep your offense on the field and allow them to generate some momentum. I also think part of the reason Drake Maye was able to have success is that they were able to run the ball. You look at his stat line, and it's not gaudy. 19 for 23, incredibly efficient, but I'm looking at the 23 number there. That's half the number of attempts he had in week 1. That was not the formula. Dropping back to pass 53 times against the Raiders and attempting 46, that ain't it for this Patriots team. 23, 25, 28 attempts, that should be where they want to live, and they were able to do that today because they ran it 29 times for 122 yards, 4.2 per attempt. That's significant improvement, and I liked it, Tom, especially because they stuck with it. It was not incredibly successful early on. They were plowing into the line. It was 2-3 yards a pop, but they didn't get away from it, and then you started to see the floodgates open up a little bit on Miami side. It felt like they were tired at times, their defensive front especially at times, and you saw some big chunk runs from Henderson, from Stevenson, and Gibson on that drive we were just talking about, that second drive in the second half, that put them really on the doorstep.
It's funny, too, because there was – last week it was a byproduct of some of the game situation in the second half when the Patriots ran the ball 3 times. It could have been the same thing today, but they were productive because of Maye, because of his composure. So when they came out of the second half, they had fallen behind 20-15 when they got the ball during that drive I'm talking about. It's 1st and 10 at their own 17. It's 20-15. They had just had a holding on Travion Henderson on the kickoff return. So they're at their 17. They hit Diggs for 8 yards, so they're going to throw it actually off their. But then they run it with Stevenson, but Jarrett Wilson gets a hold. So now it's 2nd and 12. It's, again, taking them out of their opportunity to run the ball. You know why? Because they're not a good team and they're going to make mistakes because they have rookies and veterans and a slew of new guys who were, some of them, in the remainder bin. 3rd and 3, they got the 55-yard completion because maybe they're expecting run by that point. Miami's saying, shit, 3rd and 3. They've already gashed us for like 80 yards with this guy in the first half. Nope, they're going to run him and leak him out, and he's going to have that pass. And then they come back with up the middle, 1st and 10 on the Miami 21, 15 yards up the middle with Gibson. I just thought it was a really good day of play calling by Josh McDaniels. There is, however, a caveat to attach to everything. You can look at Antonio Gibson's kickoff return and go, wow, special teams. You can also look at the punt return touchdown and go, boo, special teams. Or Baragalis hits a key field goal at the end of the game. Yay, Andy! Andy, don't miss the first 2 friggin' kicks or they won't have to have sweat dripping off their fingernails at the end of the game on deciding whether or not to kick a field goal because you missed them earlier. To me, you can look at the defense of Marte Mapu and say, wow, nice pick. But he also missed a tackle on Devon Achane that could have been a touchdown if the Miami Dolphins running back had not stepped out of bounds. They're not a good team. They don't have a fleet of good players. They have some average ones. They have some pretty good ones. But they're going to have to be a whole that is greater than the individual parts. And they did that today, Phil.
They did. And the fact that you win that game as opposed to losing it, now you can make those corrections and just feel better about yourselves, right? You're not having Vrabel wear on you throughout the course of the week. You're not having the media and the fans wearing on you throughout the course of the week and feeling that stress and that pressure of, oh, God, this team's won 4 games the past years. I wasn't even here. Yeah, half the roster wasn't even here, right? They're probably saying to themselves, I wasn't even here last year or the year before, but now I'm feeling the residual pressure from being a part of this organization right now. So you can make those corrections coming off a win. I think it's a lot easier to try to make those in that sort of situation. I would look at it and say, the fact that you can escape all that bad football and win it, this is why we started the day talking about Drake Maye. The fact that you did it because of your quarterback, to me, organizationally speaking, not individuals in the locker room maybe per se, but if you're Mike Vrabel, if you're anybody in his front office, if you're ownership, you're looking at that performance from that guy in his second year, his second game in a new offense. And Tom, you're talking about potentially having a really good player at the game's most important position. If he gives you what he gave you today, I know the numbers, aren't necessarily, like I said, through the roof. But if you get that week in, week out from Drake Maye, you're going to win a lot of games.
When you talk about how the conversation is altered by the final result, Morgan Moses had 3 false starts. Hard to come back from that. You had myriad holds. I think there were 12 penalties.
I think Travion Henderson had 3 holds.
That's a busy guy. That's staying busy. Told you to be productive.
12 for 75 total on the penalties.
Additionally, they've now allowed in 2 games 60 pass attempts, 671 yards, which you folks who are really good at math know that's 10 yards per attempt. That's going to land you in the Hall of Fame, maybe get you a statue put up. But I still think that the most mind-numbing, head-scratching, please help me understand decision of the entire afternoon was on 2nd and 8, going into the 2-minute warning, throwing the ball to Mac Hollins and not trying to bleed clock.
Fresh out of the 2-minute warning.
Fresh out of the 2-minute warning. Excuse me. I'm looking at the game book. So it was the Patriots are ahead at the time, 30-27. And after the Mapu pick, they have the ball at the Miami 38. You get 0, and you're going to have a 55-yard field goal attempt. This is bad team performance. This is exhibit A of what happens with bad teams. So you run Stevenson up the middle on 1st and 10. He gets 2 yards. It runs down to the 2-minute warning. It's 2nd and 8 on the Miami 36. Was Josh saying, I'm going to throw it to Mac Hollins here? A pass that landed incomplete with 1:56 left. Why was he doing that?
Well, that to me is that's a head coach decision, not necessarily that specific play. But in the 2-minute warning, if you're Josh McDaniels and you're on the headset, aren't you having a conversation with Mike Vrabel saying, hey, you want to run it here and bleed some clock? And maybe the answer back is, no, call your best play. Call it because we're trying to go score here. We're not just trying to,
you're only up 3.
Play against the clock. We're
The
only up
way
3.
You can lose
we need to be aggressive.
It's like you're shooting the ball early in the 24-second clock.
I disagree with that. I would have run on 2nd down there, and you saved them on that particular play. You saved them 30 seconds. Then you threw it again, right? The following play
did complete it, but they did complete it for 6 yards to Diggs. Miami burned a timeout at 1:52. So now instead of it being 1:10, or Miami having already burned a timeout and being out of timeouts, Miami burned a timeout. So it's now 4th and 2 after the Diggs reception. And it's at the Miami 30, and it appeared they were going to issue the field goal attempt of 47 yards and run a play. Instead, Morgan Moses jumped for the 3rd time in the game.
So, and it's 2nd week in a row where it feels like they're going to do one thing, then there's a false start, and now they have to do something else. Last week it was Will Campbell, false start. They were going to go for it on 4th down, 4th and 5. They ended up punting on 4th and 10. So similar sort of deal. I
don't care. I don't care if Mike Vrabel would contend that that's not what we were going to do there. We were trying to draw them offsides. Regardless if that was the case, it was so far less than ideal. I don't care if they were trying to draw them offsides. I don't care if they were going to run a play. So I don't want to get caught in the weeds on that conversation because I think that might happen when we start to investigate this week. I don't know if it will, but I could see the conversation being we were just trying to draw them offsides. We weren't going to kick it. We were going to kick it there the whole time. Doesn't matter. There was no way that they said, let's move it back 5 yards for Andy, who's having a tough day to
No shot. And I know Mike Vrabel said he didn't hesitate at all whatsoever when it came to calling on Andy Borregales in that situation. But I would have. I would have had a lot of hesitation. Tom, am I being inconsistent, though? So if Vrabel's here with us right now talking about this,
they would have given the ball Miami the ball at the 42 and been ahead by 3 points.
I think his argument is, I want to be aggressive. I want to go win the game. I'm not just playing against the clock here. I would say there are times where you do have to play against the clock, and I thought that was one of them. But is that inconsistent of me? Because I loved the 4th down call on the first drive. I did not like the chip shot field goal call to give one to Andy Borregales after he had already missed 2 extra points. Not thinking he's going to miss the chip shot necessarily, but I think they're at the 4-yard line. I think it was 4th down and goal at the 4. I would have tried to punch it in there. The offense is playing well. It looks like Drake Maye is having himself a game.
No.
I would have gone for the 7 there, and it didn't end up mattering in the end, obviously. But those could have been 4 big points, in my opinion, and they passed on that. It was a conservative call after the aggressive call on 4th down earlier in the game, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out, okay, what's their overall approach here? And I'm sure it's changing as the game's going on, but I like it if you're showing you're going to be aggressive early, be consistent with that and go for the 7.
Well, I think the mindset of the team would have been so deflated if they failed to get that field goal because it was 14-12 at that point, or was it that big at 15?
I'll have to go back and look. Yes, it was. That made it 15-7 or 15-7.
Yeah, right. So it was 12-7. They kicked the field goal to 15-7. My thought was they were giving the ball back to Miami anyway. So if they had not gotten it there and it was 12-7 still, and Miami did what they ended up doing, go down and score a touchdown, very easy touchdown, Patriots would have been beside themselves if they were down 14-12 at halftime.
We were just finished talking about what a resilient bunch this is.
They hadn't shown
taking
resiliency.
away that resiliency
the
from
resiliency goes forward. You have to have proof of concept. And to be trailing after having the ball for, I believe, 22 minutes in the first half, and Miami had it for 7 and changed. No, you needed that field goal. That's why I think reading the game, and I don't blame him for trying the field goal at Borregales. I still don't think he should have, through the roof confidence. I mean, Borregales is kicking with one finger hanging off the the ledge. So he was kicking for his life there. And he might still have been kicking for his life. If I'm the Patriots, I'm bringing kickers in right now and letting him watch them walk across the field with a bag of balls to start kicking, because he should know he's on notice. And Morgan Moses should be able to deal with the fact that if he gets called out, I'm sure he would be able to too, but if he gets called out in a team meeting, because if Mike is going to set a standard, it has to be a high standard for I'm not going to accept ass play, regardless.
Any shot, this would be making an excuse for the guy, and he probably wouldn't even want this, but any shot, he's a veteran guy. He's seen so much football. 3 false starts can't happen, obviously. But I would also say it's way beyond the norm for somebody who's played that amount of football and started as many games as he has. He came into the game with a foot injury. Is he trying to let's get into the mechanics of it. Is he trying to jump? Is he trying to cheat it a little bit because he's not as quick out to his spot because he's dealing with a boo-boo?
Maybe, but not on that one where you go from 4th and 2 to 4th and 7 on 4th down. I mean, that's just it's
bad.
Maybe. Look, I'm 34. I got to get my ass out there quick, or I'm going to give up a game, altering sack conceivably. Right. So yeah, definitely, and that's what you're going to be dealing with. And there's no slight on the guy who has been a real good leader, it seems. But that's what you're dealing with when you cannot get the players that you extremely well desire to play on your offensive line. They didn't want Will Campbell to be their 4th overall pick. I'll say it again. They would have Ronnie Stanley to be their left tackle. Didn't happen. So Will Campbell will be a wonderful consolation prize. They probably didn't want Morgan Moses to be their right tackle necessarily. Whether they could draft it or get somebody to develop, he is. So you deal with it and you love him while he's here.
Hey, speaking of Will Campbell,
yeah,
we didn't talk about him at all in the postgame, and I get why. It was an incredibly entertaining and a lot to talk about kind of game. I did not have week 2 as sort of the over-under on when Will Campbell would play a better game than Morgan Moses. Or I did not have 2 weeks in and 1 sack. I know multiple penalties now, right? He had a penalty again today, but I don't think of the 3, and we'd have to go back and watch them, I don't think of the 3 I remember saying to myself, boy, Campbell got burned there. I'd say it's been 2 pretty good weeks for Will, penalties aside, which is a significant thing, but penalties aside, the arm length has not presented itself as a real problem through 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there will be a lot of time devoted to that by the folks who made a big deal of it previously.
I'm sure. I'm sure they'll go over chapter and verse.
Be that as it may.
There's still time. There's still time. Don't play this back in 2 weeks when, he's playing, I can't even tell you a pass rusher on the Panthers maybe right now. I'd have to think real hard. But if he sees T.J. Watt next week, who knows? Maybe the arm length's an issue then. But I would just say,
what about J.J.
We got a show to do today. Through 2 weeks, he's been okay.
What about the amount of hair on J.J. Watt's head? We both noticed that today.
Boy.
On the pregame, we had the CBS pregame up there, and it was just a massive mop of hair on top of his head.
Absolute helmet. And a tough place to have a helmet down in Miami. The humidity not doing J.J. Watt any favors. It also looks like he's lost some weight. So
whole new guy. He's going to look exactly like Tom Brady before it's over with. 7 sacks through 2 weeks for the Patriots defense, Phil.
I'm still envisioning images of J.J. Watt and Tom Brady next to each other.
They're going to look exactly
as J.J. Watt's face is shrinking. They do have some similar features. You're right.
Yep.
Really interesting.
Won't be long now.
Sorry, I didn't even hear what you said. I was
7
so
sacks for the
busy
Patriots defense, which might equal last year's entire season's total.
Inflated at all because they got 2 on their last 2 snaps of the game essentially today with the Dolphins in desperation mode?
Don't care.
Okay.
Did you have a feeling, because I 1,000,000% did.
Those are huge plays, by the way. And
by
like
big ticket
Milton
Williams.
Big ticket Milton Williams and a big play by Harold Landry to beat his guy coming off the edge on 3rd down the play before. That, to have a walk-off as a pass rusher, it's essentially what that was. I got to imagine there are very few better feelings than that. And so I give those guys credit for notching those in crunch time. And to me, those numbers are not inflated because those are the types of plays they haven't been able to make in the past without real pass rush juice up front.
And that's real MacGyver type stuff, okay? Because you have to dismantle the bomb, because if he does throw it, he's not throwing to you and me. He's throwing to Waddle. He's throwing to Tyreek Hill. He's throwing against an inexperienced secondary. And I swear to God, I felt as if after Craig Woodson in the end zone did a nice job of avoiding a pass interference on Jalen Waddle on an incompletion to the end zone. I said, you know what? I could see them getting one of these ridiculous end-of-game pass interference calls because the Patriots aren't good yet. And bad teams get bad calls when unknown players are defending known players. And I could 1,000,000% see Tua throwing a balloon down the field and somebody walloping Tyreek Hill. And the next thing you know, it's Tua on the goal line. So those were big sacks. MacGyver.
Definitely.
After MacGyver.
And particularly with your top corner out. We talked about it on the pregame show. My concern level, 1 to 10, with Gonzalez missing this game was a 10. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Your best corner against a team where their strength is their receiver group. Carlton Davis seemed to hold his own well enough, I guess, Tom. I don't remember him necessarily being on the scene the same way Alex Austin was on the scene for some big, really back-breaking types of completions. Jalen Waddle's touchdown. Alex Austin had him in man-to-man coverage. Looked like kind of a, I don't know if you call that a circus route. Some of the X's and O's people get at me on that one, but feigning sort of a deep over and then going up the field and running a corner. Really difficult to stay with that guy for that long. And then the down the field heave from Tua. Boy, he maxed out his arm on that 47-yard pass to Tyreek Hill that he had to come back for, but completely overran it. Like, you know, that should be Christian Gonzalez really out there in those situations. And so he would have been a difference maker had he been out there today. The fact that they were able to survive without him, to me, a very good thing for them.
All right. Patriots are going to play the Steelers next week. They lost, the Steelers did, at home to Seattle. Aaron Rodgers.
Did they not?
They got rolled
31-17.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers went 18 for 33 for 203, had a touchdown, 2 picks. He went down 3 times. Mason Rudolph came in for the mop-up. Meanwhile, Jay Warren. Who the frig is Jay Warren?
Jalen Warren is their running back, yeah.
Just 14 for 4.8. Kenneth Gainwell, 5 for 20. And on the other side, Kenneth Walker had 13 for 105. Zach Charbonnet did dick.
13 for 105.
Yeah, Zach Charbonnet made up for it with a 15 for 10 running with a long of 6.
That's a tough
so
line.
his other 14 carries gained 4 yards. He must have run backwards on something.
That's got to be a typo.
No, he must have run backwards on something.
14 carries for 4? Yeah,
no, 15 for 10, but he had a long of 6. So
yeah, you're right. He probably had some sort of like fumbled handoff or something, and it went backwards, and he recovered it 12 yards behind him.
Meanwhile, Sam Darnold, 22 for 33 against that Steelers defense, was 295 yards. He was sacked twice. He was picked off twice. Cooper Kupp. Is there anybody we haven't spent a ridiculous amount of time talking about? He had 7 for 90.
The Steelers defense through 2 weeks, bad. They give up 32 to the Justin Fields-led Jets, who did
just
absolutely nothing today. And then Aaron Rodgers. Now, that defense in Seattle, I think, is going to be very good this year. So I don't necessarily look at the offensive stuff and say the Steelers can't play. But 2 weeks in a row, giving up 30-plus. This is a
13
chance,
in week 1.
This is a chance for them the Patriots now, chance for them to have another good week offensively.
Speaking of now, Bill Parcells is going to be inducted in the Patriots Hall of Fame next week, as will Julian Edelman.
Good coach now.
He's a good coach now. I mean, he can hit a quarterback now. Bill Parcells is good for the Nows.
Did he hit quarterbacks? I thought he just yelled at them.
No, he would say that. He can get off the quarterback now.
Oh, okay. Was he a now guy? He
I think he might have been the original now guy.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
I might be wrong.
I didn't cover him.
I'd love to know where it started. I didn't cover him. I got him in for Sweet Pete Carroll.
I feel like that's like Bear Bryant.
He can get out. Yeah, they all decide that they're Southern at some point. But all right, let's put a cork in it, Phil. Interesting win for the Patriots. Didn't use nearly the amount of sound from post-game that I had said we were going to. Be that as it may, that's fine. Casey Keene, who's on the clock down there, she's putting together the pod. Thanks for doing that, Casey. We're going to have the next Pats podcast. We're going to have the breakdown on Monday. That's Phil's week. From us, we will have a Patriots Talk podcast you'll be able to see on television. That'll be on Tuesday evening. Phil and I will work on that in the next couple of days. And then we will have Quick Slants and another Patriots Talk pod on Thursday. So, Patriots are 1-1. I'm not clapping for the Patriots. I'm not a homer. I'm not a green teamer. I'm not a blue teamer. You know what? I'm an objective observer of the team, but it always is more interesting to see a team be 1-1. I root for the story. It's a daily talk show, okay? It's a daily talk show.
I was not reading into that clap at all. That was like a ready break, like podcast is over. Let's go.
All right.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, I'm starving. I got a nice Shaw's Wagyu ribeye in the fridge that I'm going to cook up.
Heck yeah.
They're pretty good. They're a little expensive, but they
Yeah, of
all
course they
they're
are.
all $25.99, which is not insane. Shaw's Wagyu ribeye for $25.99.
How many meals are you getting out of that?
Just one.
Just one.
Yeah.
$25.99. I mean, it's
But
steak.
I mean, if you go to a friggin' steakhouse, it's going to be $65.
Well, yeah, but they're
at
going to cook
least.
it up for you.
I'll do a better job. I'm pretty good.
Will you really?
I'm pretty good.
How much butter?
I'm good on the grill. Butter. There'll be
How
butter.
much?
I don't measure
pad?
it.
You
A
don't.
pat of butter.
Yeah.
I'm going to put olive oil all over both sides of it, salt and pepper. I'm keeping it simple.
Okay.
And I cook it medium rare, almost rare. All right, everybody. Goodbye.